Good
All
morning,
right.
McGenna.
What good morning?
Wow.
Saying good morning with Genna. Like I get a personalized good morning. That's a miracle.
From everybody.
Every day.
I know.
Keep it real. Her ass is like my best friend. We have like multiple projects for it. Don't cry, McGenna. Don't cry.
No, you just said I'm addicted. I mean, I gotta work
You
on
know
addiction.
what, girl? I'm used to it. Man, come on now. I'm just kidding. We won't go there. This is a religious cult. No.
Oh boy. Half the people just signed off.
Yeah, I know, but it's like I'm getting I'm out.
Awesome. All right, so we'll get this call started here. We'll give it just another minute for everyone to hop on, whether you're on live with me anywhere on my social or if you're here on Zoom. Thank you. Thank you for being here and sharing this moment with me. I I don't take it lightly. It's with deep gratitude, sincerely and genuinely from my heart that I want to say, you are all amazing. Um, and the intention for this call is to send a lot of love out to the world and in turn really send it back to ourselves. Because there's really nobody else out there but me. And if we can but recognize just that, then all of our brothers and our sisters are me. And we look for the love, we look for the sameness, the similarities rather than the differences. And through this remembering, this mindset, we create beautiful relationships and we allow God to flow through us and we allow miracles to show up. Because miracles show up as a natural order of the universe. It isn't something that we need to consciously take into control. And we just have to bring our minds back to the flow. And there is a flow. It's not your flow, it's God's flow. And we just have to align our minds to that flow, and miracles show up. Miracles show up, allergies disappear, all sorts of things happen. So, okay. I think that's enough time that I just took for people to join, and we will officially get started. So, what is A Course in Miracles first? For anybody that is new hopping on, it is this book. It was scribed, so it's one of those channeled books, and when I say channeled, it means there's a moment of clarity where things come to you, right? We've all experienced moments of clarity, whether it comes from, the work that you're doing or something with your family, or just this clarity that comes that tells you this is your exact steps to take. And there seems to be no blocks. We want to figure, how do we access that state all the time? It's the flow state where information comes and it comes straight out. There's no blockages to it. See, that's what the course is really telling us, is that how do we get to that state of mind all the time? How do we remove the blockages to the awareness of it? And ultimately, the only thing that you're blocking awareness to is love. So the way to block miracles and the way to block that channel is by blocking love. And what is love? That now becomes a good question to ask ourselves every day. What is love? Who is love? And every single day, the world, the universe will provide you opportunities to answer that question. Every moment you have that. Every person in your life is an opportunity for you to ask that question. And then you look at yourself. What is my capacity for love? Who am I? And then we look at the way we are in relationship to all things, all the material things that we have, all the all the money, all the wealth, the prestige, the influence. And ultimately, the one that we worship the most is the ego of the self, the ego's idea of self. And sometimes we may say, oh, we are not good enough, or we are unworthy, or, whatever limitations we have of ourselves. The ego is actually trying to have you worship yourself. And the way we do that is we give our powers over to, we collect everything else out there. See, the worshiping is to make something an idea greater, to back in the days, maybe it was like, I don't know, a wooden statue or figure or something, and people worshiped it. You asked for something from that, as if that thing will complete you, and it implies that you are incomplete and you are not whole. And when we say, and when we make that idea stronger, right, that the idea of that statue being worthy of worshiping is to make that idea stronger. It makes that idea grow, and we believe it more and more. But really, the ego is pointing to yourself. See, the worshiping that's actually happening of the self is that I am incomplete, I am unworthy. This identity that is separate from God. That is what the ego is actually worshiping. The ego is basically trying to tell you that salvation and your salvation comes from something, anything besides God. That way, this world is more real. The world that we live in now is more real. All of our conflicts comes from not knowing reality. See, the Course talks about two different worlds. Two worlds come from your mind. One is the world of perception, interpretation. They're not facts. Okay, they're not the truth. Then there's the world of knowledge and truth, which is everlasting. It's eternal and it never changes. It requires no defense. That's the other world. So there's two worlds. Now, it's very simple. There's only two things ever happening. It's which world you are aligning yourself to. And it's going to be very hard to understand the teachings of the Course when we believe and when we are aligned to the world of interpretations and perceptions. Everything, these two teachings and these two worlds are opposite in every single way. They are complete opposites. One world will lead you to anxiety and anger and worry and judgment. The other one shows you that there is nothing ever to be anxious about, nothing to worry about, because you are seeing yourself as whole, as how God created you to be, which is an extension of Him or her, whatever you want to call it. And in that recognition, there is nothing that I actually need to do. See, we've had the conversation the last couple weeks about I need do nothing. And people, there's so many people messaged me, okay, whether it's on Instagram or direct messaging, just was like, I don't believe that. I don't think that. You see, you can't grasp that as long as you believe in the world of perception. The world that we live in here, which is, and this is a very easy example. When we're young, okay, the value of money is not real. Okay. Some of us could be like, yeah, I accept that. Your idea of love is also not real. Now we're like, oof, challenging the ego a little bit. Your idea of yourself is also not real. Ooh. Oh man, that's a real battle now. Your idea about your relationships with your family, your husband, your wife, your kids, also not real. Now we're just like poking at the these sensitive subjects. Your idea of who is a good president and who is not is also not real. We're getting more sensitive. Your idea of a mass shooter at a middle school or a kindergarten is not real. People logging off. People are like, this dude's crazy. Your idea of me being crazy is also not real. See, they're all perceptions. They can change from time to time, which means they aren't real. How can you have faith in something that changes from time to time? That becomes the question. And the course helps us navigate through what's real and what isn't real. What's real is defined by eternal, never changing. I'm just kidding, Harry. I was just making a joke. But maybe, I don't know. Your ideas of things that change are part of this world that has us. And it creates false idols. And I'm so glad you're here, Melinda. This is a dedication to you. Idols. Okay, what is an idol? I mentioned it earlier. Because when we believe in the world of perception, our idols are created. Because when we believe in the world of perception that changes, because it changes, the insecurity starts and the not enoughness starts to be the conversation about us. Well, what can I trust? What can I really trust? When that happens, when we think, we think one thing of let's say we think one thing of somebody or me. You're like, oh, Alex. Oh, great. A Course in Miracles, all of this. Then I go and do something completely. You're like, who the fuck is this guy? Right? Now it changes. See, all of that challenges your beliefs. But you're believing into the world, into this illusion of a world, which is the identity that I've assigned to Alex, the idea I've assigned to wealthy people and who's a good person, who's worthy of my love, who isn't worthy of my love, the idea of allergies, of my body being capable of being sick, everything points back to that this body needs something in this world that requires doing something, that requires the looking of something to complete it. Because everything changes and we have no idea what we should put our faith into, we start to worship all sorts of different things that is not God. That is not the truth. And the Course says that there is only one thing that is true, is love. But you have no idea what love is as long as you perceive that the world is separate and that you are separate. And then we start to look for what the Course calls idols. Idols are anything in your internal altar that is not God. We look for concepts. We look for people that will fill something in me. Oh, if I just had this. And we bounce from things to things to things. And every time the idol disappoints and it falls, right? This is what we do. Grant Cardone is an idol. And as we get around him more and we talk, we see him more and more and more. And then we see the humanness in him. All of a sudden, this idol starts to fall because our mind is just insane. We're looking to put things on pedestals and then we kick the pedestals out. That's literally what we do in our mind, because from that place of insanity, that's why the mind is insane. Now, the mind is also capable of free will, and the only free will is to choose between those two worlds. One,
Alex?
yeah, hey.
Okay, I think you got that concept wrong, what I was trying to tell you. What I was trying to say is with the book, The Course in Miracles and Marianne Williams, you were kind of using it as an idol, in my opinion. Now, you need to give God the credit. God is what is the credit.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Course in Miracles, not Marianne Williams. God deserves all the credit in everything. God is love. God is, I mean, everything.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, you have to have the good with the bad, otherwise you don't know what the good is. You have to have the good with the evil, because you have to be able to know light and dark, good and bad. And sometimes there's even three. There's your story, my story, and the truth. There's gray, black, and white. I mean, I'm not saying, the Course in Miracle is a tool, just like the Game of Life, the
Mhm.
Bible. All of it is a tool to get you closer to God, and God is love. And love is what we are supposed to be doing. That's exactly what we are supposed to be doing, giving love.
Hmm. So
I'm not saying that it's wrong, but you got to also include all of the other aspects of, because yes, there is the duality.
okay, hold on one sec. If it's not wrong, then why is it that I got to do something else?
Okay, well, what you're doing is, in my opinion, now this is my opinion, and everybody has one. Do you not think that you are really giving Marianne Williams a lot of credit instead of God?
No, because Marianne Williamson isn't. Everybody is capable. See, here's the thing. This is the separation thought that happens. Everybody is capable of the same. Everybody, and as much achievements as anybody had in this entire world, is still way short of our true potential, of who we truly are. Okay, so Marianne is somebody that I endorse because she is a teacher of mine. But also everybody is a teacher of mine. Right? In this moment, you are helping me see a part of my mind that splits off, which is great. You know?
Right now, we are in a spiritual warfare. This year,
Well, maybe.
a lot of things are going to come to the truth. And the people that have been evil, they're going to be coming out. Getting caught, and things are going down. You can only have so much evil, and then all of a sudden, God's going to say, "Time out. It's time to go to good now." And that's what He's asking people to do: is choose. I'm going to call and ask you, are you going to accept my calling and help turn the planet around to good instead of evil, because it's gotten to be too evil.
Yeah. So just the course itself and all the work that we ever do, whether it's personal development or anything, is a one-way street. See, what happens for us is we have some sort of idea. Okay. It isn't the truth. Remember, you said it's your opinion, it's my opinion, right? It isn't the truth, but what ends up happening is something challenges my own idea. And instead of working, it's a one-way street. I only work it for myself. All of this is for me. I say every call, I'm like, this is like therapy for me. You guys are all here listening to me talk about my problems and come to some sort of realization. And so we have to recognize that it's only for us. But what the ego does is goes, oh, well, let me project my newfound some sort of awareness onto somebody else. Like, let me go and look at the world and start judging the world for good and bad. See, the idea of love, here's love. And from everything that you've said, reflect simply on this one thing. All right. And the one thing is the opposite of love is fear. But what is all encompassing can have no opposites. See, that's the part. And what the Course is also saying is we all do believe in good, but we don't believe in good only. We all believe in love, but we don't believe in love only. And that's the work that we get to do for ourselves, because what ends up happening is we are like, ooh, I understand a little bit about what love is and what good is now. And I'm going to look upon the world with judgments on everything that is bad. And we end up calling more evil and bad into our own minds by doing that. Every time it's a split, the idea of bad, the idea of bad and evil and the devil becomes bigger in our mind as we give it more thought and more power.
That's where you get, you don't give it the power. You take your power back. That's the problem that people people gave the power to the devil, and now you have to take your power back
Mm.
because fear is the devil. The devil makes it so that you have anxiety, you have this, you have that. You have to go deep within your soul and say, hey, what happened when I was a kid? What do I have to face that really made me this way? And take accountability for who you are as a person, a human being, and everything else. I mean, I've had to take accountability. I mean, I found out that I was abandoned. I was this. I was that. I mean, I went back and forgave every single person that's ever hurt me. I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. But at the same token, God wants love. I mean, because nowadays everybody thinks it's okay to do porn. Everybody's okay to do whatever. I mean, it's gotten so evil that God wants us to come back to the love, the light, and the oneness. The oneness is all of us, no judging, no judgment. You don't see color. You don't see anything. Animals are just as equal as you are.
Mhm.
The planet, you want to do everything that is right. And everything is with love.
Mhm.
You don't come with your ego. You let your ego go. I mean, that's something that you have to let go.
Yes.
And
So,
you come from a place of love.
So,
But you give it. You give God God is the one that is giving you the power to do all of it. So God deserves the credit.
Mhm. So in turn, let's flip that around. That also means all the things that you think are evil, maybe I am perceiving it incorrectly because it's God that's doing it, right? If you're saying that everything, God deserves everything, right? All the credit. That means all of our possible judgments of any evil that I see is also God's doing. If you want to give credit, you have to always give credit. See, what ends up happening is you're like, no, I will decide this part. God got the credit for the good things, but the bad things, I will decide what's bad and what's evil, what's the devil, what isn't. See, on some level, well, hold on. So the only issue that we ever have is that we are unwilling to give it all over to God. If you give partial to God, yeah, you can make your case for certain things, but then other things you decide, I will play God. I will play God by saying there is the devil, there is bad, there is this, there is that. I'm playing God in this moment. I will tell you what to do. I will tell you to give it over to God, but I'm not going to give this over to God. Right? I will say that Marianne Williamson doing God's work, it's not her. Don't give credit to her, give it to God. But the person that goes and shoots up the school and does porn or whatever, we can't give that over to God. We actually need to take the action and punish ourselves. And we punish them. We call them out. We hang them publicly. This is the exact thing that Jesus was actually or the symbol of the crucifixion is showing us. That every moment we only have two things happening in our mind. It's the crucifixion or the resurrection. And that's the only awareness we ever have to have is in ourselves and how we're looking at it. Right? Because to you in your mind, you may see that, oh, Alex is worshiping Marianne Williamson. But worshiping means that I am incomplete without Marianne Williamson. I am not. Whatever she does, it's fine. I just like what she's doing. She's a great teacher of mine, and I like what she's doing, but I'm not worshiping her on any way. She does not complete me in any way. What she does not complete me in any way or incompletes me, right? Because
What was that example you used that you could take? If you took that one thing away from you, you would really be like, oh no. Now, if we took the Course of Miracle away from you, you would be like, oh no.
Maybe not though. I don't actually. Because I've had an experience with it. So I had all these lines, right? Because I really, my book is great, and this could be my lesson, my teaching. See, it's only the recognition of our relationship to the things that we worship, because I'm sure there are. I probably on some level worship my relationship with my wife. that relationship is an idol for me. If she's not, I think about it all the time. Like, what would my life look like without her? Because on some level, I am worshiping that. What would my life look like without my net worth and my money and my whatever? I probably would feel a certain other type of way. But my relationship to those things is that I know that if it happens, they are all lessons for me. I look at it, I will feel how I feel because I'm in a body and I am human. Okay. I will be stressed. I will be overwhelmed. But I will recognize that I am in this special relationship with something. Like my peace is being taken away because something was taken away. That means I've attached my identity to that thing, my happiness to that thing, my salvation to that thing, whether it's money, real estate, people. Like we have special relationships all the time. But the thing for me to do is to recognize that they are my teachers. Okay. The worshiping is going to happen. The special relationships is going to happen. But in the moment, by giving it over to the Holy Spirit, that special relationship becomes a teacher. And if I look at everything from a teacher, and I have to reinforce that, it's like going to the gym. Oh, I worked out once and I feel good. Am I good just to not go to the gym anymore? Right? It's a continuous practice every single day to get yourself in that space, because everything in this world and all of the stuff that we think is always deteriorating and disappearing. It's like the garden. If you like, actually, it's like my front yard. The weeds are just coming out. They're always going to come. The weeds of the ego is always growing. And every day you have to pluck them, okay, in order to bring your mind back. It's a constant practice so that your mind is clear. So we don't need, but these spiritual practices for us, for me, is to keep me grounded throughout the day, because what I really want is to be at peace of the things that, you know, that I'm doing. I want to have peace with everything.
I want to go back to don't be scared, Harry. And really, it's just treat people the way you want to be treated. I mean, it's human decency. Everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves kindness. Everybody deserves to be happy and healthy. I mean, it's yes. I mean, because I know I've been really low. I have seen the devil aspect of life, and I've seen the really good aspect of life. You get to choose. And when you walk with God, it's really exciting. I mean, okay, how did I know? I ended up going from being a zombie, okay? I mean, I was living life. I mean, I was just existing, to the point where one day I finally called out to God, please, God, help me. And, I surrender everything to you. And when I did, now I've always treated people kind. I've always treated people the way I wanted to be treated, because I feel that that's the way it is supposed to be. Treat people with love.
1 second right there. 1 second. So when you have that idea also, I always treat people the way I want to be treated. Good. But when you make a mistake, do you forgive? Okay, so when somebody else makes a mistake, you see, the ego will weaponize that and say, well, I always treat people the way I want to be treated, and you're not doing it, and you're not doing it, and you're not doing it, and everybody needs to be doing it, but they don't really know at the moment. Everybody's doing their best.
When you get in line with God, you quit judging. I mean, I have learned not. I used to judge. I will tell you, I was the best at judging people. Meaning to tell you, I would tell you if you had a hair out. I'm sorry, but now I don't care. I mean, it's one of those things that everybody is love. In my eyes, everybody is love. I see everybody as love, and everybody deserves love, and everybody. God, I'm trying to bring people to God. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring the people out of the darkness and into the light, and show them that this is the way it can be, because I had to be showing it. I had to find a way to do it myself. Now, if I could get somebody from point A to C without having to do B, I'm going to do it because the B sucks.
Yeah, but see, B sucks is a form of judgment. The B sucks.
I'm trying to help them so that they don't have to go through what I went through because it's a tough road.
So, but you're also deciding for somebody else and saying what's best for somebody else. Their path is their path. Everybody's path. See, the belief is that the safety in what you're saying is that I will be okay. See, I went through that path and I got to a space of clarity about my relationship to God. Awesome. So why wouldn't you want, maybe that is the shortest path there is. You had to go through that. So maybe B is a good place to go through. So wouldn't you, if you want people to get to where you're at, wouldn't you want them to go through the path that you took? Right? But because of the judgment part is like, ooh, that was bad. See, don't get into a relationship like that. Don't get involved with people like that because I got burned from it. And so
I'm saying some people don't believe that they deserve it. Some people feel that they don't deserve to be loved. They don't deserve to be respected. They don't deserve, they don't deserve the love that God gives them. They really don't. I mean, I've met people like that, and I've helped people like that. I mean, I'm just saying, some people are at their very lowest, and we got to lift them up.
Okay, so let's just do that. Focus just about lifting everyone up, right? Including whoever we think is bad or evil or the devil. Okay, let's lift the devil up to bring the devil to love. Okay, let's do that, and we'll leave it at that, and let's see if we can, and all of this is great. This conversation, if when we look at it, everybody on this call, and this happens often on these calls too, not often, once in a while, where these debates kind of happen, which is awesome because we can all look within ourselves the conversations that we're having about the conversation that is being had, which is great. Can we be a witness to what's going on? Not like me being involved and my judgments get in the way, right? Because a lot of times, things will happen and two people are, debating about something. And then we end up, our own judgment starts to play like, oh, I agree. I don't agree. I agree. I disagree. And now we go back and forth. Knowledge disappears when there's a battle back and forth, right? Unless we can step back and witness it from outside of the self, my own judgment part, right? So yeah, this is great conversation. I do want to, you've inspired me to talk about false idols. Not I didn't see it as an attack or anything. I promise you when you said what you said before. But I do want to at least point out what is an idol and what's the purpose of an idol. So first in chapter 29, okay, there is and really the entire course is showing us that what I have, there's, oh my God, 48 messages in the chat. I can't read all that right now.
So we really inspired them today. Good.
Well, good. I mean, yeah, there's conversations being had, which when perceived correctly, okay, when perceived correctly, it is always contributing. Everything is always contributing to the healing of the world. It's a simple matter of, am I seeing that? Or am I choosing sides? Am I playing who? See, when we get into an argument, when me and my wife get into an argument, rather than looking for a solution, we start to play find the bad guy. We start to look at blame. We start to assign blame and assign responsibility and who should take responsibility and who did what. And then all the stuff from the past gets dragged into this moment, which don't even have any, there's no need for it to be there because the past is not now. All right. So, okay. First in chapter 29, there is the first part says, what is an idol? Okay. Do you think you know? For idols are unrecognized as such and never seen for what they really are. That is the only power that they have. Their purpose is obscure, and they are feared and worshipped, both because you do not know what they are for and why they have been made. An idol is an image of your brother that you would value more than what he is or not value. Idols are made that he may be replaced, no matter what their form. And it is this that never is perceived and recognized. Be it a body, a thing, a place, a situation, a circumstance, an object owned or wanted, or a right demanded, or achieved, it is all the same. It's just different forms. The idols are all different forms that deceive you. It deceives you because it bounces from one thing to another. And we can look at that in our life. What have we made special? What have we made special in a sense, like well, okay, hold on. What's happening with Kathy? Your mic is just kind of going on and off and on and off, and I don't know if it's okay. Yeah, it's making a lot of noise. So all right then. So idols, right? Idols deceive us because it's actually, if we think we want this, we think if we had this, it would complete me. Oh man, and I've been saying this for the past couple of weeks, which is, oh man, if my deal only went through, it would complete me. If my wife only did this, it would make me happy. Then I would be at peace. If I only made $1 million, I would be happy. Right? And really, none of that gives us what we think it's going to give us. Because once we've achieved it, we now make it less. We make it less then. It's no longer, oh, we've achieved it. Now what? And so all these idols continue to fall. And we've gotten to a point where we're just like, oh, we expect it to fall. Now that I've achieved this, now what? Let's chase another one. Let's chase another one. Let's chase another one. You know, sometimes you can say that when we chase after goals, and this is not to not make goals. Okay, make goals. But when we go after these goals, that's why a lot of times when we have, Tony Robbins said, don't have a big goal without having another big goal behind it. This is for our own motivation and inspiration part. However, it's also about changing your mind to what the goals actually are. Right? When we chase and we make our goals the material things, every person that has become super wealthy their goals become different. It's no longer monetary. It's no longer material. It becomes some sort of self-development, spiritual development. They start to look towards something else because they realize, wow, all the things I went after that are material do not fulfill me. What am I going to do? And so the teaching begins, because the teaching is actually a seeking to make a difference. The teaching aspect that we all desire to share with the world is the part of our mind that's like, I've realized something and I want to share it with the world. But then the teaching itself provides the next level of learning for us, which then we begin to see, wow, if I can look and I can really witness myself, I'm actually projecting something also, right? Because there are, when we teach, we also learn about ourselves. Like how we start to compare ourselves to others. You know, we start to see like, oh, who's a better teacher? Who's a good teacher? Right? There's so much competition. I mean, in the big multifamily space, like I've gotten close to some of the teachers and mentors, and you know, they don't really have good things to say about the other teachers and mentors out there, because the worship always is of the self, of this self that is separate from everybody else. And that's why it's like, ooh, my resource, I shouldn't share it with the world. You know, and I have that practice all the time. The practice is always, ooh, I've gotten this great videographer. He's doing amazing. He's going to change the game for me. And then I go and say, oh, here, everybody use them. And then he becomes too busy. Same thing with my CPA. And then I see somebody else working with him and making amazing videos. Okay. Chris Luna, if you're freaking here listening, kudos to you, brother, for making amazing videos. But in sharing that, right, it's not like anything belongs to me. But the ego thinks, ooh, if somebody else has it, that means I have less. And the world actually reinforces that because we operate from that place. You know, that the resources that we have are all finite. And we have to practice it. We got to interrupt it and actually do the opposite. So I'm like, here, I'm sharing his work. I'm sharing him. I'm trying to grow him as well, the videographer, so that he can do for more and other people can recognize his talents. Awesome. Love the connections. See, the love I feel afterwards and seeing somebody else succeed afterwards actually makes me feel a lot better. But initially, the ego's like, ooh, don't give your resource away. Don't give this away. And we have to, and that's a form for me in which that shows up. But for you, it might be something different. So look in your own life, where do you feel like sharing is losing? Sharing is sacrificing. So we can just literally look at the people closest to us. My wife is my greatest teacher because I see it all the time. I go and do the dishes. I'm like, ooh, I'm sacrificing right now. You know, I'm doing something. I better get some acknowledgement, or I better be able to use it later to say, well, I did the dishes, you know, something. Like our minds just turn into like we're not even present here in this moment. It's about the future. It's about the past. And we all do it. We're human. We're in this body and it's going to happen. But we have to simply just shift our perception and relationship to all the things that are happening in our life. All right. So
what we're meant to do is stay in the present. Just be in the present. Don't think about the past. Don't think about the future. Live in the moment, because the moment is all you have. You're not guaranteed anything except for now. What can you do now? How can you affect somebody now? How can you love somebody now? How can you make somebody else better now? I mean, don't worry about anything else, because you can't change what's going to happen. Everything's energy. Everybody has the right to do whatever they want to do, and they're going to change. You can only handle yourself. And what do you want? I want to be a better person every day. I mean, I really want to be a better person every day. That's my goal. I want to help people, and I want to bring everybody happiness and love.
Awesome.
But you have to do it in the moment. You can't plan in the future.
Yeah.
Because you're not guaranteed that.
Maybe. I don't know about the have to do this or that, but it's for yourself. At the end of the day, is there even a future? Is there even a past? Right? There's, like you said, right. I know for sure that this moment's happening. I'm not even 100% sure the past happened the way I thought. And the Course actually points and says that the past did not happen the way that you think. And here's an example, and here's a story, right? And this is from my idol, Marianne Williamson. So she basically had this relationship with her father and mother, who she just witnessed them as fighting about money all the time. That's her witness. That's her in her mind. This is the character of her parents. All right. And then, after they passed, and she was doing some forgiveness work around it, going through therapists and just working it through. And then she goes home and finds love letters from her dad to her mom. And all of a sudden, the entire perception, her whole past, her whole life that she lived, she had a certain perception of a world that isn't even real, because she did not see the love that happened before, see the love that was happening, which could have changed your whole perception, allowed you to see love instead of the judgment part of it, right? Her judgment was that this is, hey, Kathy, you are, you got to mute yourself. I don't know why it keeps unmuting and muting. And it's making a lot of noise on the mic. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, just kidding. So, you know, after she saw that letter, the forgiveness that happened, right? She was like, it was incredible. Everything changed for her in her own life because she was holding on to something in the past and blamed that for how she's behaving. And then when she realized, wow, my whole past didn't even happen the way I thought it did. I had an idea of my mom and my dad. But we're not walking through anybody's shoes. We don't see the whole story. You know, and it's for us to become beyond it. Okay, there's a section in chapter 30. In chapter 30, section 3, it's beyond all idols. Okay, so in paragraph 3 there, behind the search for every idol lies the yearning for completion. Wholeness has no form because it is unlimited. To seek a special person or a thing to add to you to make yourself complete can only mean that you believe some form is missing. And by finding this, you will achieve completion in the form that you like. This is the purpose of an idol, that you will not look beyond it to the source of the belief that you are incomplete. Only if you have sin could this be so. For sin is the idea that you are alone and separated off from what is whole. And thus, it would be necessary for the search for wholeness to be made beyond the boundaries of limits on yourself. So because the deeper question is, why do we feel a sense of inadequacy? Why do we feel a sense of incompletion? Why do results point to our unworthiness rather than the result being neutral? The results, and I told this to our team on Tuesday's call, our results really point to where we are now. But oftentimes when we get a no from somebody, when we get a rejection, those results, we point to our own worthiness. We've associated that to our worthiness, and we live our life from that. You know, I was sharing one of the other calls that my buddy, I was doing a podcast interview with him, and he was like, dude, the moment that changed my life began when one of the sales guys, he looked up to the sales team, and he was part of the IT team. You know, it's like the nerdy kids looking up to the jocks in high school or something, right? So they go out to the bar, and he sees where all the sales guys hang out. All the girls are around them. They're looking like they're having a lot of fun. They drive the nice cars, you know, and they're flashy, and they make the biggest checks in the company. And so he's like, yeah, I want to be a sales guy like you. And the sales guy, being wasted and also probably in this like heightened, you know, ego state, was like, you will never be a sales guy, you know, something like that. And he carried it for 20 years, not thinking he could be a sales guy, and became a hardcore introvert from it. But it didn't. See, the thing is, like, can we not allow that to affect us? Because can I see it as a learning lesson, as an opportunity, rather than what's it called? Than an attack or something about us. Now, 20 years later, he met the guy again. Just happens actually, it was after we met and we had this conversation during GrowthCon. He ended up running into him again afterwards. And he was like, this guy, he's like, you've changed my life, Alex. Like, having this conversation with you, all of a sudden this thing happened. I run into this guy that I talked to you about that told me this story, and he was completely lost. He quit the sales, and just like his life was kind of falling apart, and he was really lost. And in that moment, I realized like I carried on this idea, and I actually told him like, you should share this story with him. You know, like go meet up with him again and share this story with him of all of this, and you guys can create a learning and a teaching moment together. It's an opportunity for the holy instant. The course calls the holy instant the opportunity for two people to come together and remember God. And really, in return, remembering who you are, remembering yourselves. Because when you chase the false idols so much and they just constantly fail and they fall and they don't give you what you think it was going to give you, you'll start to lose faith and it becomes hard. You're like, I don't really know what I want to do. And I think majority of people are going through that process. Now, I'll do what I can to share, but not from a place like, you need to make a left turn right here. You turn wherever you want. This is the learning from the Course in Miracles and learning from the Holy Spirit, is that Spirit is infinitely patient. There's always an welcoming. Like imagine the GPS, right? Like GPS is like, here's home, or here's, and you're already like maybe closer. And you're like, okay, we all just got to make this left turn here and we're going to get closer. But every single left turn, you stand with open arms, and then you don't make a, you should turn here or you shouldn't turn here. You just simply be love and be welcoming, be inviting to turn left here. If they do, they do. If they don't, okay, let me go to the next turn and do that. Like, can we do that in our relationships? See, that's the thing right here. All right, Kathy, I'm gonna move you out, and then you can. Actually, I can't. All right, you know, I accept. We. Hey.
I have been meaning to figure out a way to talk to Kathy and be like, Kathy, it's like a spirit. I feel it's a spirit. I don't think Kathy is even near her computer, and it's a spirit doing this. I was wondering if you were just gonna let that go, Alex.
Yeah. You know, being in the moment, can we embrace everything, right? Because the thought that this is annoying is actually a judgment in our mind.
Yeah.
And it can, and yeah. Yeah. And can we, oh, go ahead. You guys go.
Alex, so I read this book and it was talking about how like some people stay to like not think about the past or the future and to just put the attention on the present. And then they're like, well, what if we just put our attention on our awareness, that time is not even involved? So I started doing that just on my awareness, and I realized that I can exist in this quantum space where there is no time and space. I'm just like, I don't know what I am. I'm just pure awareness. It happens during my meditation. I go to this place where it's like, there's no past, there's no present, there's no future, there's no now. There's just awareness, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, we can call it awareness, we can call it present, we can call it now, whatever we want to call it. They're just words that point to this experience of the full conscious present, right?
Yeah.
So there's lots of different, the Tao, the way, the flow, you know, whatever you want to call it. You can call it anything, but they're words. And see, this is, oh my God, this is so funny. So yesterday, okay, remember last week I came up with that analogy that like, you know, words, when we describe things, we're basically pointing our finger at something and we're like, here, look over there. And everybody's involved with looking at the finger. Like, oh, you use the word present, you use the word awareness, you use God. It's not God, it's this, it's that. And everyone's battling over the way in which your finger is pointing at something rather than looking at that. And yesterday, there's I'm like, I went to a dinner and there was, you know, she had two dogs running around. And I was like, oh my God, the cutest dog. I'm like, where's your ball? And then the dog gets all crazy, like, oh my God, the dog understands ball. I'm like, it's over there. Like I'm pointing at the ball that's over there on the grass. And the dog just kept running over to my finger. And I'm like, holy shit, this is hilarious. Like we are all just like dogs, right? Like we literally do that. We're like, hey, look, there's the moon. And instead of looking at the moon, everybody's looking at the finger. Everybody's worried about how you're doing something, where our judgments around the different words are it's so funny. And we go to war over it in our lives, right? Like, let's call love this, let's call love that. Everything is just different. Like when you say God, ooh, God. No, it's not God. It's this. It's the Buddha. It's whatever you want to call it. No, there's not just one God. There's many gods. See, our minds are so split, and so we're arguing over the pointer, the finger, or whatever is pointing at something, instead of looking at that which is beyond. And it's all about the beyond. How do we look at the beyond? The way we look at the beyond is we don't look and we don't experience with our physical. The physical body will deceive us, because the physical body perceives itself as weak. The body is always dying. And so we look for things to try and fix it. You can't fix anything. There's no control of it. There's only a perception that you have control. And that's one of the teachings. Where was I going with this? I had a point, but the point is now in the past. What was I just saying? Before I got distracted by myself.
You had a point. You were pointing fingers at the dog. That's the point. Point about the point.
Yeah. Oh, we go to war over, these things. We go to war over words, and we will do it beyond the point. Beyond the point is what I'm trying to point to. Okay. The way we look beyond the point is we have to look with our spiritual sight, not our physical sight. See, our physical sight, we're like, ooh, I see this. But everything you see, and this is how the course starts with its lessons. This camera here does not mean anything. This cup here does not mean anything. See, when we see this cup, we don't see the cup. What we see is what the cup is used for. We see the past about this cup. We see the past idea of everything that this cup represents. Ooh, isogenics. Okay, I remember when I was taking isogenics. I remember this cup is a big cup. It fills a good amount of water. I like to use this cup because, I get thirsty. Everything becomes the past. So that's the physical sight. When we look at people, ooh, Alex does his calls on Mondays. He does these calls, and he has his haircut like this, and he looks like this, and these are the types of things he says. Great. Physical sight, physical ears. But beyond all of it, okay, can we see with our spiritual sight and hear with our spiritual ears? What is that then? That only comes from the recognition in our mind about ourselves. Are we the light of the world? Do I see myself as complete? If I see myself as complete, I see myself as the light of the world, then I will see that in others. If I can't see it in others, it means something else is blocking my mind. See, our only problem is our disconnect to source, our disconnect to the flow of the universe, to God's will, whatever you want to call it, the infinite cosmic intelligence. We block it with our own ideas of how things should be and shouldn't be. And in that, we block the channel. We block the channel, we block the flow. So to be able to see with spiritual sight, I have to first believe. See, there's a part in the course that says it is hard for you to see it's hard for you to believe if you don't see it. But it is also hard for you to see it if you don't believe it. Which one is real then? Right? Everything is upside down from each other. You either believe that you believe after you see, or you believe that you see because you believe. They're so opposites, there's nothing about those two that's similar. Now, the problem with the human mind is that we think both can be true. And this is why we walk around super confused. Oh, sometimes that's true. Sometimes this is true. Sometimes I'll give it over to God. Other times I will kick God off the throne. And this is what the Course actually points to. The ego wants to usurp God all the time. All right, Brooke, you're amazing. Thank you for being here. And thank you for always being such a great support and cheerleader and sharing all my stuff. You're the best.
Yes.
You're the
All right,
best.
Alex, 6-1 to no one. Talk to y'all later.
All right. See ya. Yeah. So in order for us to see with spiritual sight, we have to look beyond. What is beyond the identity that I have of Alex? What is beyond the identity I have of Grant Cardone, whoever, right? Anybody. Beyond that, they also have a light. Same spirit that flows through me flows through them. So if you have a job interview, let's say you have a job interview, you don't need to go to it feeling like, ooh, I need this to happen. I need to get this job. Rather, the thinking is, let me be here and let us both together serve the greatest good. And maybe the greatest good is for you not to give me the job. But the same spirit that flows through me, that knows what to do, flows through the job interviewer. The same spirit flows through everybody that you can't even fathom. If we really think about that and we start to just contemplate on the same spirit flows through every single person, designed perfectly to serve you for your awakening, then what type of judgments could you possibly have? The only judgment that right now is coming out, what would make sense logically from that, is that spirit or God doesn't know what he's doing or she's doing. Every time you judge something, you think something is good, you think something is bad, you think it's evil, you think it's not evil, you think it's right, it's wrong, true, false. Every time you do that, you're saying, God, you don't really know what you're doing. I know what to do, though. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. So you step aside for now. Let me do the teaching. Rather, can I see everything as just, it's all, God is playing it all out for the greatest good. Okay. Maybe it looks like this person has to do something extremely what we perceive as messed up in this world so that we can teach a lesson. Great. I see it as part of the creation of love, part of the remembering and the recognition of love. Okay, there was that book. What is it? Is it The Journey of Souls or Soul Contract, something like that? Right? Two souls make a pact. Hey, I really want to experience and learn about love. Okay. If you really want to, I think it was like the elder soul or whatever is like, okay, we will come back to this world. You will forget everything about this, and I'm going to do something extremely messed up. And you won't remember that I'm doing it. You won't remember why we're doing this. But in time, you will learn the greatest lesson of forgiveness. You will learn the greatest lesson of love. You will recognize your capacity and the world's capacity for love and forgiveness. And I will do that for you. I will look like the bad guy. Spirit and souls playing things out to teach and remember love.
Alex,
Yes.
sometimes don't you think that God's rejection is your protection? Because he's going to give you something bigger and better.
I don't know, maybe.
I mean, that's how I perceive it. And, sometimes he's not doing it to me, he's doing it for me.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was just saying. Somebody will act out in a way that seems like it's hurting us or attacking us. But it's not done to me. It's done for me. And so that is the one question that we always have to have, which is, what is this for? Why did this happen? Not in a way like, let me justify why it happened and create some weird, some like distorted answer to it that we make up that suits us. But it's the constant discovery of What is it for? Why did I meet McGenna? Why did I meet you, Melinda? Right? What is it all for? And we continue to explore that forever. This relationship could be teaching moments always. And I see all the relationships that I create in that way. What is it for? What is it for? What is this moment for? What is our conversation here for? And if it doesn't lead to a complete trust and surrender and love, then let's keep going. What is it for? What is it for? Right? This life that I'm living right now. What is it for? Why did I create certain things I've created in my life? What is it for? Is it for my own gains and my own achievements? No. To align yourself with a higher purpose is that it's always for the healing of the world. Everything I do, if I can remember that it comes from I am in service to the healing of the world. That's my morning. Every morning I wake up, first thing I think about. How do I contribute to the healing of the world today? To the awakening to love. And everything I do follows that. Sometimes I forget. I'll get upset with my wife and I'll get into some yelling match and I raise my voice. People are like, "What? You do that?" Yeah, it happens. But it's not to punish myself after. See, what happens is we judge ourselves and we punish ourselves. How fast can you forgive yourself? It's no different. The speed in which you're able to forgive yourself is also the speed in which you're going to be able to forgive others. So the looking beyond others' actions, you look beyond their words, you look beyond their actions, you look beyond their material things and the way they do things to the light that's behind. Because you're really just remembering for yourself the capacity in which you're able to remember the light. You look to the thing that you judge the most, and you look at the light behind that. The Course calls it the Christ consciousness behind. The Christ consciousness is the awakened one, the Holy Spirit that flows through all of us. Let me look at spirit in you instead of the words that came out of your mouth and the actions that you're taking, because this is part of the dream world. We're all in the world of perception. Since I'm seeing you right now, you're doing something and you're saying something that is completely, I think it's like, wow, totally not in alignment to love and God. That's my own thing. That's not theirs. It's my own judgment. Let me look beyond that, because as I look beyond that, I will be able to forgive myself for judging. Otherwise, I will judge and I will look for justifications that I judged. And then I'm going to look for allies that will justify what my action was. And then it's like a virus. And then we start to spew poison out. We're looking for allies to justify some nonsense. See, if you are loving and you forgive, there's no need to justify anything. The only reason we look for justification is because there's guilt somewhere. There's guilt somewhere, and then we feel like we need to have other people get why I did that. Right? That's why it's so easy to gossip. Because what we're doing is we're looking for allies to justify the reaction that I took. That's why the Course says truth needs no defense. And every time in our own mind, all we have to simply recognize is, am I looking to defend something? If I am, then there must be guilt behind it. And I must be trying to protect something that doesn't have value that I think is valuable, which is to be right or to be in control. Okay. Melinda, you had your hand up first?
Oh, well, I can't take it down, but anyway.
Oh, okay.
To be your true, authentic self is basically what it is. Just live honestly with a good purpose and everything else. That's exactly what everybody needs to be, is their true, authentic self. But people have a hard time because they end up, some people like to lie, and they just, they keep lying and they keep lying, and it's hard for them. Because I've known people like that, and I feel sorry for him because I don't lie because I have a hard time remembering what happened on Monday. Okay, I'm not going to lie because you have to keep that in your memory. I can't do that. But in the same token, I just feel that if everybody just would be their true authentic self, and then when they don't want to do something, say no. I mean, be honest.
Mhm. Yeah.
Be honest. If you're honest, you don't have to defend yourself.
Yeah. Let me just, you make a point about projection makes perception. Okay, we talk about this a lot. The fact that I can see that people lie all the time, it means lie is a real idea in my mind. And I have a judgment about lying. So I can see it everywhere. I can see people doing it. It's like, I use this example too all the time. People cut me off while I'm driving, right? And when people cut me off, my reaction is anger because his anger is real in my mind. So I think there's value in reacting with anger and cursing and yelling. Now, I've done so much work. Or give the finger or whatever because it's justified. And I want the people in my car to experience my frustration. That's why I lash out loud, right? Because you could just silently be upset, but I don't want to silently be upset. I want everybody to get that I'm upset because it needs defense. I need justification, right? Now, I've done so much work and interruption around that. I don't even see people cutting me off anymore. Right? It's not even like in my sight because it isn't real for me. It isn't even like a real thing that I should respond to. So it's just neutral. Oh, somebody cut me off. Great. Like they must have not seen me or they're in a hurry. Whatever the case, doesn't bother me none. I have zero reactions to it. So now that's not real in my mind anymore. Right? Like the reaction isn't real. Now, the whole people lying and people this and that, people are bad, good, that's real in my mind. So I can see it everywhere. So instead of being like perception, I perceive it. So then it must be real. I believe it. I make it real first. And that's why I can even perceive it. I want to buy a blue Tesla. Now all of a sudden, why the hell is everybody driving a blue Tesla? Because it's real in my mind first. It became real and then I can see it. See, part of the, science has actually shown us that our mind has been able to mentally block out 99% of the noise. 99% of what's going on in the world, we don't even see. We see like 1% we see like 1% of it, and the rest is an image in my mind. We walk around with an image already of everything. And so we see it's a selective seeing and selective hearing. Now, once we start to recognize that, we can open ourselves up more. We can now own the fact that, oh, there is evil because evil must be real in my mind. So let me do the work myself now. Okay, I need to do work to see that how is this evil actually encompassed by love? How is the journey of something? Ooh, it was evil, and then the comeback to love. Wow, what an inspirational story. Because in time, Shiva was talking about time and space. In time and space, we can see something as good and bad. If we put the entire time and space into one time and one space, it's always something bad happening. And then it leads to like some great, awesome thing, some great awareness, some great awakening. People go to jail and then did something bad and then come back being the most inspirational person. It's like, wait, so if I look at this timeline as a whole, was it a good thing or a bad thing that happened? Am I even capable of judging that timeline at any point? Because I just go back and forth. This is good. This is bad. This is good. This is bad. And it just drives us crazy. Okay. So,
Like Nako Bear, right? His whole story.
Nako, yeah. And we love a great comeback story. We love a great awakening and people coming back, but we also equally love knocking people down. Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't talk to his dad. His dad raped his mom, and that's how he was born. But it's like, wow, he made really good music, though.
Yeah. I mean, whatever the story is, I don't know. I wasn't there. Okay, Natalia, you had something to share.
Yeah, you kind of covered it. My question was, it was interesting when you answered it a little bit for me. I was you mentioned gossip, and I was experiencing like different conversations with different people and friends in which I found myself, having two people in conversation and stepping into gossip, and so not knowing how to. I'm like, okay, I don't want to. I don't even want to be in this conversation. And then when you just said to Melinda, your answer was, well, if this is even happening in your space, it's because that's real in your mind. And I think that sort of answered it. But I guess the other part of the question was how to handle, situations like that. I want to give it over to God, and I'll give it over to the Holy Spirit, but it's practical matters so that I don't sound like, I don't know. I'm like having challenges, and like it's kind of silly, but at the same time, I'm also experiencing a similar situation in which, and I think it all goes back to trust, because I feel like I'm not trusting myself as to how to respond or act in this situation, so that I don't come off as I know better. I'm a student of the course. This is what we should be doing instead of that. I'm also finding myself in a transaction at work in which but I guess we'll take one at a time. What's your take on that? And then I can cover the transaction at work.
So, what is your thinking about it? Like, what are you recognizing in your own thoughts about it?
So what I was experiencing is I was feeling uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to. I didn't even want to part. Like I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to hear that conversation. And so my thinking, I guess I was judging the person for judging another person. And so, how do I get out of that? Right. So like, how?
Well, first is to see that there is nothing to get out of.
Okay.
You don't have to get out of anything, right? It's a continuous lesson for you, because that event happening can provide infinite amount of lessons for you moving forward. That can be the cornerstone of a story that has you step into other spaces, and when you see it, interrupt yourself with love instead, acceptance instead, curiosity instead, right? Oh, I remember that one time that I judged, and I was just judging their judgment. Like, they're freaking, all these people are judging. What do you think is happening in your own mind? When we see somebody, this is why the attack is always from me first, and it's on myself. If I can see something wrong with somebody that is attacking me, I had to first perceive that I'm vulnerable and I'm incomplete and I could be attacked in the first place. Second, I have to judge the fact that you are doing something like that. The judgment comes from us first. We have to make a judgment what it looks like an attack. Ooh, you said that I can never be a sales guy. Oh, is that actually an attack? Right? We actually don't know. But I had to make the judgment of that first in my mind. That's why I see it. See, the projection makes perception. It means it's in me first. That's why I can see it. I perceive it because it's real for me. Again, this brings back to you see it. You can't see it. Oh, wait, what was it? You don't believe it, or you believe after you see, versus you see because you believe. Which one is it? You believe first, and that's why you can see it. You have the judgment first, that's why you can see it. See, that gives us power. That gives us power. We have ownership. We can take accountability. Now, the other way, I believe after I see. Right? You guys, there's people out there all the time. I'll believe it after I see it. Well, your mind, if you're skeptical, you'll never see it. There will always be skepticism in everything. It's always going to happen. And you won't ever be able to see it. So taking that ownership allows us to recognize that we actually can do something about all of it. Otherwise, we're just like a victim to the entire world. We're a victim to the whole thing. Right?
But now another thing, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why would you just get up and leave if you were uncomfortable?
You
I
can.
mean, sometimes, I mean, why put yourself through something uncomfortable? Just leave.
Well, you can. Nothing wrong with leaving. It depends on what, again, the question is, what is this for? What is it for me? Right? If I continue to do that, let me just leave. And then I start to give off this sense of just being rude all the time and people perceive me a certain way. Then all of a sudden, I'm at war with people all the time. All it comes down to is, am I at war with what's going on? Or can I just be a witness?
It sounds to me like to be a witness as opposed to, because the moment that I just witnessed the experience happening, the thought of like, I want to leave, or the uncomfortableness is no longer there because I'm no longer judging. I'm just a witness of this conversation.
Mm-hmm. And when you're in the place of fear and being uncomfortable, it's not easy to do the forgiveness work because you're in it. Now, leaving might be a good option because you're like, let me get some distance so I can think, But if you get the distance and you aren't, because a lot of times what happens is I leave, but I didn't really leave. I left the vicinity of it, but I am in the war in my mind, even when I get home. Like these motherfuckers, these unwoke, these dumbass, these, whatever, right? Did we really leave? We didn't really leave.
No, you just let go. I mean, because you don't want to waste energy on it.
Yeah, but I'm saying when we're there is no battle. See, that's the thing. There's no battles. When I'm there and this is happening, can I just be a witness of what's going on? Or am I going to play out a war in my mind? And even the choosing to leave, on some level, you will have this feeling that you need to defend why you left. And then you're going to talk about it later with somebody else about it. So you never actually left. Because even in that whole scenario, everywhere we go, there you will be. You can't leave yourself. You might have left that conversation physically, but when you get home and you call your friend and then you start talking about it, you never left. You never left the war. You never got off the battlefield. You're either holding the sword or you're still holding the shield. And in that, it never ends. The only way is to truly walk off the battlefield. And you walk off the battlefield, you can walk off while you're there. That takes a level of awareness that I am witnessing what's going on here. Right? I am witnessing myself as a part of this conversation.
And also, it's related with the whole idol conversation because I think at some point in my mind, I've held, I've expected of these people, like of these friends to act a certain way. And so when they don't, it's like, there they went. And so they fell off the throne because I have an expectation of how they, here we are after, ceremony of after this work and this and that, and they shouldn't be doing these things. And so
Yep.
I just recognized that I had just taken, they just fell off their throne.
And it goes on and on and on. The special idols that we make of people. Oh, he's out there doing all this. He's done all this trainings. He's talking about this, and look at his actions. right? Look at this thing that he did. And it just goes on, and there's nothing else happening besides you and your mind.
And then I was gonna say, then it goes back to that's exactly what I do to myself when, when I make a mistake.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Claudia. Hi, my friend.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm here trying to have a talk, but I have to walk out of my office because there's so much noise, and I don't want to distract anybody with the noises in my office. But I had to step out because it's so beautiful, like witnessing everything this morning. And I'm just gonna add that when I feel, like in psychospirituality, there's a thing in the mind that is called, like the polarities, right? And then it comes from the dualities as well. So you have, the distortions of that. So judgment in the concept is a distortion. The one that we want to add it in this mindful and conscious space, and my invitation is a discernment. So I'm discerning something for myself that is, I don't want to be in part of it, or with compassion, I'm going to listen because I like to be listened. So I'm going to listen with compassion and love. So always inviting the love to my space. So the judgment, I transmute it to discernment, and the in the listening, even when it's a debate in place, I'm gonna listen with compassion because I like to be listened. So as the judgment, I receive it as a perception. So I perceive what the others have to, that where they are in that moment, in that space, and I have my perception as well. And that's it. It's just, and then all is part of this one thing that we all agree is the love. The one thing that I hear in all the perceptions is the only thing that we want is love. So I just want to say that. Jump to that.
Thank you. Thank you for that ad. Yeah, and great call today. Melinda was a great teacher on this call with us, right? Like anytime that people share, when we have the right ears to listen, we are listening to teachings, whichever side that people take on. There are lessons to be learned, to be heard. As long as we are a witness, not the judger, not the judge. We are the witness. Right? We are the witness of it playing out with no sides. Oh, yeah, that makes sense for me. Ooh, I like it. Is it going to take me closer to love? Right? Because either way, if I said, if I took on the fact that everything is love or everything is the devil, either way, they're both going to teach you. They're going to teach you about yourself if you can witness yourself. Yeah, so there's a lot of, learning opportunities every time that we do one of these calls. And the more that we share, we are all sharing in the contribution of healing the planet. And we can trust that. This world is safe. There's never a wrong thing that we can say. There's never a wrong thing that we can do. We are guided by God, regardless if our mind recognizes it or not. The will is always playing out. Now, the only freedom, the only free will we have is to recognize that the will of God is flowing through me. And either I go kicking and screaming or I go with peace and love. Either way, I'm going. Okay? It's taking me every moment that's passing. I am flowing down the river of life and all the things that show up. I can kick and scream. I can get confused, and all of that doesn't even matter. You want peace, you align your will to the will in which life flows. Yeah. All right, Lyra, you're amazing. I'm going to close this out with one final lesson of the day, and that is, I place myself in service to the love that heals all things. I place myself in service to the love that heals all things. There is no one more deserving than I to wear the mantle of God's peace and power. There is no one more special or less special than me, for all of us are one. Today, I accept the mantle of God's love to be drawn around my shoulders and assign me his power. Many others find in me a rest for their souls, as the love of God extends through me to give all beings peace. I accept with humility the peace of God bestowed upon me, that I might be a conduit through which he bestows it on the world. I place myself in service to the love that heals all things and pray to be used in the highest, best way. I place myself in service to the love that heals all things. Amen. Aho. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing day. Much, much blessings. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Amen.